You want to know what really makes a woman crave you? It's not flowers, not compliments, not chasing her. It's boundaries. Not the kind you fake to seem strong. The kind that come from being so certain in who you are, she either respects your world or leaves it. Most men never learn this. They try harder, beg more, love louder, only to get ignored, disrespected, or left for someone who barely tried at all. Because attraction isn't logical, it's psychological, and nothing flips a woman's instinct more than a man who doesn't bend, doesn't beg, and doesn't break. If that got your blood moving, good, it should. Because today, you're going to learn the 6 boundaries that don't just protect your power, they make you irresistible. If you're serious about finally attracting the kind of women who chase you, respect you, and stay loyal to you, I'm building the most powerful tool for your transformation, the Stoic Relationship Blueprint. This isn't a feel-good ebook. It's the most brutally honest, step-by-step guide ever created for men who are done losing. Modern men are starving for truth. We're overwhelmed, betrayed, manipulated, and nobody teaches us how to stand up and take back control. This blueprint fixes that. Miss it, and you risk living your whole life on your knees, begging for love you never needed to earn. Stay tuned for this upcoming life-changing ebook. Comment below, I choose boundaries, if you're ready to change your story. Number 1, your time is not free. You wake up every morning with a limited amount of energy, decision-making power, mental clarity, and time. But most men treat their schedule like a trash bin anyone can throw into, and wonder why they feel exhausted, disrespected, and invisible by the end of the day. You've got to understand, your time is your territory. The way a lion guards his land, you must guard your calendar. When you say yes to every favor, every text, every meaningless scroll, you are saying no to your strength, your peace, your mission, your body, your mind. Ask yourself, how many times this week did you respond to her messages the second they came in? Not because you were free, but because you didn't want her to feel ignored? And how many times did that make her feel more attracted to you? Probably none. Because every second you spend trying to make her feel important by abandoning your own priorities, you kill your own masculine gravity. Women don't respect the man who's always available. They respect the man who chooses when to make himself available. This is not about pretending to be busy. This is about actually being busy, busy becoming better, busy moving, busy building something that has nothing to do with her. The man who treats his day like gold inspires curiosity, not comfort. And the paradox is, the more she feels like she's stepping into your world, your structured, driven, purposeful world, the more she wants to be part of it. Think about it. If she knows you'll answer instantly every time, she loses the thrill of anticipation, the respect for your focus, and the sense that she's with someone who's truly doing something meaningful. Attraction fades not because you changed, but because you stopped holding the line. Imagine a man who schedules everything: his gym time, his learning time, his creative time, his rest. And when she reaches out, she doesn't get a rushed, tired version of him, but a man who is whole, complete, and full of purpose. That energy hits differently. She doesn't feel neglected, she feels challenged. She doesn't feel rejected, she feels intrigued. You must become the kind of man who values his time so deeply that no distraction is worth compromising it. Not her drama, not her validation, not her fear. You respect yourself so much, you don't have time to explain why. You are the architect of your hours, not a servant to other people's demands. And when you truly live this, not only will she respond differently, but life itself will. You'll walk with clarity, not confusion, with direction, not desperation, with presence, not pressure. Your time is the soil from which everything in your life grows. Guard it like your future depends on it, because it does. Number 2, Say no without guilt. You've been trained your whole life to feel bad for disappointing people, especially women. You were told that being a good man means being agreeable, being flexible, being someone who makes her feel good even when it costs you everything. But the truth is, when your yes is automatic, your value disappears. Saying no isn't about rejection. It's about self-respect. It's about protecting your focus, your integrity, your direction. Think about how many times you've agreed to something, a date, a favor, a conversation, while your gut screamed, "Don't do it." But your fear of losing her was louder than your truth. Every time you say yes to what drains you, you silence your own instincts. And that silence accumulates into resentment, frustration, and eventually, a man who doesn't even recognize himself. Saying no without guilt is the foundation of all personal power. It's the moment you decide that you matter, that your energy has limits, and that not everyone is entitled to it. Picture this. She invites you out on a night when you're mentally spent. The old you says yes, drags yourself through it, hoping it makes her happy, hoping it proves you're a good guy. But the man who knows his worth simply says, "Not tonight. I'm taking care of myself." No apology, no essay, no performance. And surprisingly, that simple no, not laced with shame, not coated in fear, doesn't push her away. It pulls her closer. Because it reveals a truth she rarely sees, a man who prioritizes truth over approval. And that is rare. That is magnetic. That is unforgettable. There's a quiet confidence that radiates from a man who doesn't owe anyone an explanation for protecting his space. The man who says no from calm certainty, not cold arrogance, invites respect without asking for it. He doesn't justify his schedule, doesn't beg for permission to rest, doesn't soften every boundary with emotional disclaimers. He simply knows. Not every opportunity is worth taking, not every request deserves a response, and not every emotion is his responsibility. That kind of energy creates mystery, stability, and depth. She knows you're not a puppet for her moods. She sees you're not afraid to stand alone. And that is the exact moment she starts to see you not just as a partner, but as a pillar. A man she can lean on because he doesn't lean on her for identity. Remember, every no you speak with confidence reinforces the structure of your self-respect. And structure, to the feminine, is safety. That safety breeds trust. That trust breeds desire. That desire becomes loyalty. So ask yourself, where in your life are you saying yes out of fear? Where are you nodding to protect a feeling while killing your own? Cut it, replace it, speak no with strength. And every time you do, you rise, not above her, but into yourself. This is the quiet revolution of the modern man, not a war against women, a war against self-abandonment. You win by knowing your limits, owning them, and never apologizing for them. Say no, mean it, and let the world feel the gravity of your yes. Number 3. Call out subtle disrespect. You might not even notice it at first, how it creeps in quietly, not as rage, not as insults, but as small cuts to your dignity. A passive jab during dinner, a joke about your masculinity in front of her friends, a rolled eye when you speak about something you care about, and you laugh it off, right? You tell yourself it's not that serious. You don't want to seem too sensitive, so you say nothing. And then it happens again. A backhanded compliment, a condescending tone, a decision made for both of you without your input. And again, you let it go, because it's easier than confronting the discomfort. But here's the truth that every man needs to hear. The moment you let that slide, you send a message louder than words. You teach her how to treat you. You show her where the boundaries stop. You tell her your respect is negotiable. And when you don't value your respect, no one else will. Not her, not other people, not even you. Because every instance you overlook becomes a blueprint for how she interacts with you. And the more you tolerate, the more it grows. What starts as subtle disrespect becomes normalized, and before you realize it, the woman you love no longer sees you as her rock, but as someone she can step over to reach her emotional comfort. You become background noise to her feelings, and you didn't get there overnight. You got there by not speaking up the first time. So ask yourself, what would it look like to stop that cycle at the source? What would it feel like to calmly hold the line, not from rage, not from ego, but from pure self-respect? It starts with awareness. Start paying attention. When you feel that tiny sting in your chest after something she says, don't bury it. That's not weakness, it's clarity. That's your values being nudged. Don't wait until it becomes shouting matches or distance or cold nights of resentment. Call it early. Call it with strength. Imagine a conversation where you simply say, when you spoke to me like that, it didn't sit right. I won't engage in that energy. You don't need to convince her. You don't need to escalate. You need to be immovable in your standard. And when you do this, something powerful shifts, not just in her, but in you. You start to rebuild trust in your own voice. You begin to walk with a different weight. Because now, you know you won't abandon yourself for comfort. You won't betray your core to avoid tension. That's where true confidence lives. Not in how loud you are, but in how clear you are. A man who sets this boundary becomes someone women respect on an instinctive level. Not because he forces fear, but because he anchors truth. And that truth becomes safety, and safety becomes attraction. There's a reason why some men walk into a room and everything changes. The energy, the tone, the respect. It's not their clothes, their status, their charm. It's that they have decided, somewhere deep inside, that disrespect is not allowed in their space. Not because they hate people, but because they love their peace. They've built it, earned it, and will defend it. Not with violence, but with clarity. This is the kind of man who doesn't scream to be heard. He speaks once, and it echoes. And that echo changes everything. So what do you do when you realize you've let it slide too long? You don't panic. You don't blame. You rise. You start today. You sit down, not with accusation, but with presence. You say, going forward, I won't accept being spoken to like that. I expect partnership, not condescension. And then you follow through. And that follow-through is where your power lives. Because boundaries are not lines you draw in the sand. They're promises you make to yourself. Promises that say, no matter what happens, I will not abandon who I am to be loved. That's strength. That's leadership. And that is what flips the dynamic from instability to reverence. And this doesn't just apply to romantic relationships. Think of your children watching you. What are you teaching your sons about manhood if you let disrespect slide? What are you teaching your daughters about the kind of man they should trust if they see you shrink every time their mother mocks your authority? Your boundary is not just for you. It's the legacy you leave in your home. So own it, honor it, and live it. And know that the man who calmly defends his worth, even when it's uncomfortable, becomes the man who changes the tone of the room. Not because he demands it, but because his energy commands it. That's not just power, that's peace. And it's a peace you'll never taste if you keep swallowing what you should be standing against. Your heart knows the difference. Your soul knows the line. Trust it, defend it, and never again allow subtle disrespect to become the soundtrack of your relationship. You are not a placeholder. You are not disposable. You are not here to be tolerated. You are here to lead, to love, and to be honored. And that starts the moment you decide enough is enough. Because it's not about being feared. It's about being felt. And the man who can calmly say, I deserve more than this, without raising his voice, becomes the kind of man no one forgets, and the kind every woman respects. Number 4. Stay calm under provocation. You don't really know a man until you watch how he responds when his control is tested, when the pressure rises, when someone tries to rattle his core. And this is where most men unknowingly lose everything that once attracted her. She doesn't test you because she hates you. She tests you because she needs to know if you're strong enough to hold your center when everything around you shifts. And most men fail because they haven't built their emotional foundation deep enough to weather a storm. Think back to those moments when she teased you, challenged your opinion, questioned your decisions. Maybe she made a sharp comment in front of her friends, or tried to get a reaction by comparing you to someone else. What did you do? Did you get defensive? Snap back? Try to correct her? Or worse, did you walk away quietly while burning inside? The truth is, none of those reactions earn her respect. What does? The man who is unmoved, not because he's indifferent, but because he's focused. The man who responds with precision, not panic. She throws the spark, and instead of catching fire, you calmly extinguish it, not to control her, but to show her that she can't control you. And this has nothing to do with games. It has everything to do with self-mastery. A man who has trained himself to respond rather than react is a man who's ready for anything. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly listened to what she said without feeling the need to defend yourself? When did you last pause before reacting, realizing that your reaction would define not just that moment, but your future dynamic? Because every reaction is a lesson. You teach her whether you're stable or volatile, grounded or unsteady, centered or dependent on her emotional state. And when you start responding like a man who sees the whole picture, who doesn't need to interrupt, doesn't need to raise his voice, doesn't need to dominate, you step into a different category of manhood, not the loud man, the consistent man, and in consistency, she finds her peace. You become the still point in her storm. You stop being the emotional mirror and become the container. And in that container, she feels something deeper than attraction. She feels safe. That's the truth no one talks about. Women crave masculine stability, not because they want to be controlled, but because in your steadiness, they can release their tension. And the moment she realizes you're not trying to win an argument, you're trying to win her trust, she stops fighting and starts following. But to get here, you need practice. Start with the small things. The next time she challenges you with sarcasm or emotional heat, don't flinch. Just look at her calmly. Smile if you can, not to mock, but to show her you're still present. Respond with a question that reveals her emotion underneath. Say less, but see more. Learn the art of observing before answering. This isn't weakness. This is high-level awareness. The world respects men who speak slowly when provoked, because that pause means you're thinking, not reacting. And your woman, your children, your future, they all benefit when you choose precision over explosion. Don't give away your edge because someone else lost theirs. Instead, build a habit of choosing stillness even when your chest burns. Let the burn be your teacher. Let it remind you that pain is information, not instruction. You don't owe anyone a reaction. You owe yourself a future built on clarity. And when you've trained your nervous system to pause before fire, you'll watch your life transform. Arguments disappear. Respect returns. And she begins to see you not just as her man, but as a man the world listens to. That's the difference between being liked and being followed. You're not there to win battles. You're there to win trust. You don't need to be the loudest voice to be the strongest presence. Your calm is power. And power that doesn't need to prove itself becomes undeniable. Number 5. Don't over-explain decisions. Have you ever sent a long message trying to soften your no, trying to explain why you can't make it, trying to give all the reasons to avoid disappointment, only to feel emptier afterward? That's not communication. That's fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being seen as selfish. Fear of her pulling away because you didn't package your truth in enough emotional bubble wrap. But here's the hard reality. Every time you over-explain, you surrender your power. You teach her that your decisions are negotiable, that your values can be debated, that your direction is something to be voted on, and that kills attraction faster than anything. Think about the men you admire. Do they give 5 reasons for every choice? Do they justify their priorities like they're on trial? Or do they state what they've chosen and move forward, not because they don't care, but because they've already thought it through? That's who you must become, a man of direction, a man of action, not cold, not dismissive, just grounded. And here's the deeper truth. When you trust your own decisions, you stop needing others to understand them. That trust doesn't come from ego, it comes from clarity. You decide, you communicate, you move, not to control her, not to push her away, but because you know where you're going. And in that direction, she finds the safety to follow. Over-explaining is a symptom of internal confusion, but decisiveness is born from alignment. If your no is rooted in your values, then say it. Don't dilute it with paragraphs. Say it once, calmly, and let it stand. Not to provoke, but to preserve. And when she asks why, answer with simplicity. Because that's what I've chosen. That's enough. It's more than enough. Because in that answer she sees a man who's not afraid of her disappointment. And when she sees you can hold your line in the face of her emotion, she relaxes into yours. She doesn't need you to bend. She needs to know you won't. That's how she learns to trust you. That's how she learns you won't get lost inside her emotional waves. And this extends far beyond relationships. In business, in fatherhood, in friendships, the man who states his direction without apology becomes the man everyone looks to when storms hit. You want to be that man? Then start with your next decision. Practice making it without a need to be liked. Choose what aligns with your values. Share it with clarity. And walk forward without guilt. Not everyone will agree. That's not your burden. Your burden is to remain aligned with the man you said you'd become. The man who no longer debates his worth with every yes. The man who no longer apologizes for choosing growth over comfort. The man who no longer lets her emotions rewrite his calendar. That's how you stop being managed by life and start leading it. And in that leadership, she sees your depth. In that depth, she feels your presence. And in your presence, she finds her peace. So stop typing, stop softening, say it once, mean it fully, and let your presence carry the rest. Because when your yes is rare and your no is firm, every word you speak begins to carry weight. And in a world full of noise, the man whose words carry weight becomes impossible to ignore. Number 6. Purpose. First, woman second. What happens when a man abandons his purpose to prioritize love is not romantic. It's tragic. And not just for him, but for her too. Because when a man orbits a woman, instead of grounding himself in something deeper, stronger, and immovable, he becomes the thing she can't trust. Not because he's weak in body, but because he's unanchored in soul. The man who does not know what he stands for will fall into any emotional void. He begins every day chasing approval, shaping his thoughts around someone else's reactions, holding his breath in hopes of being enough. And the more he gives up his time, his direction, his mission to show her devotion, the less devoted she feels. Because she was never looking to be your world. She was looking to be welcomed into it. She was hoping deep down that you would be the one man she couldn't shake. Not because you ignore her, but because you've already been claimed by something higher than her. That something, your purpose, is what gives your words weight, your decisions direction, and your presence peace. Ask yourself right now, what do you wake up for that has nothing to do with anyone else's validation? What do you protect in your day, even if she doesn't like it, even if your friends don't understand, even if no one applauds? If you don't have an answer, you're building your identity on shifting sand, because women respect the man who is committed to a mission, the one who will miss a call because he's in the gym, the one who will turn down a night out because he's building, the one who will say, "I'll see you later," not to be cold, because he's protecting the future version of himself. She may not say it out loud, she may even get irritated, but deep down, she feels safer around that man. She knows he can lead, not because he tells her he's a leader, but because he lives like one. You want to keep her attracted. Don't lose yourself in her. Keep building, keep evolving. Be the man whose energy says, "You are important to me, but I will not crumble if you leave, because I didn't build this life for you. I built it for truth." And if you're a father, this isn't just a preference, it's a necessity. Your children don't need a dad who does everything to keep the peace. They need a dad who shows them what purpose looks like when no one's watching. They need to see that dad protects his values, even when it's inconvenient. That dad doesn't beg for attention, he earns respect. That dad works, trains, rests, and loves from a place that can't be manipulated by mood swings or emotional storms. And if you're raising daughters, understand this. They will internalize what kind of man they deserve by watching how you hold your own masculine center. If you bow down to stress, if you abandon your path to make their mother feel better, they will either grow up chasing men who lack backbone or resenting those who stand strong. You don't want either. You want them to grow up knowing what it looks like to be loved by a man who has fire in his soul and discipline in his actions. And if you've gone through a divorce, or you're sharing parenting with someone who challenges you at every turn, your purpose becomes your armor. Without it, her words break you. With it, they bounce off. Not because they don't hurt, but because you have something more important to fight for than being right. You have a mission, and a man with a mission doesn't lose himself in emotion. He navigates it. You might be wondering, how do I even start building this purpose? What if I don't know what mine is? You start by choosing discomfort over distraction. You start by removing what's numbing you. You stop scrolling, stop consuming, stop pacifying the ache, and you face it. You ask, what am I afraid to do that would force me to grow? Then you do that. You pursue clarity with the same hunger you once pursued comfort. You write, you train, you build, you show up early, you stay late. You learn new skills not to impress her, but to rebuild your foundation. And when you do, something shifts in your presence. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to explain your value to be respected. You walk into a room and people feel that you are not looking for direction. You already have it. That energy cannot be faked. It cannot be bought. It must be forged in the daily repetition of commitment to what matters most. And when a woman enters your life and sees that you are not emotionally dependent on her, not desperate for her validation, not empty without her approval, she leans in, not out of obligation, but because she wants to be part of something bigger than herself. That is the paradox of masculinity. When you stop chasing women, they start choosing you. Not because you manipulated them, but because you mastered yourself. And the irony is, the man who puts purpose before women ends up with women who align with that purpose, not the ones who drain him. Because he no longer entertains confusion. He no longer negotiates his standard. He no longer confuses chaos for chemistry. He moves differently. He sees differently. He chooses differently. And the quality of his relationships reflects that elevation. If you've made women your world in the past, forgive yourself. Don't spiral. Start. Reclaim your day. Set your goals. Prioritize your health. Guard your peace. Let her see you busy becoming the man you were always supposed to be. Not for her, not for revenge, but because your life was never meant to orbit anything less than your own divine assignment. There is no peace like the peace of a man who knows why he exists. And when you live from that place, you no longer worry about who stays or who leaves, because you are already full, already guided, already home. Now go build. Let your purpose speak louder than your pain, and everything you've ever wanted, respect, admiration, connection, will find you on the way. Every man watching this knows what it feels like to give everything and still feel like it's not enough. To walk into a relationship with hope and walk out with your self-worth shattered. To work long hours, stay loyal, show love, and still be questioned, disrespected, or worse, discarded. We live in a world that praises emotional openness in men, only to mock them for being too soft. A world that demands strength but gives no tools to build it. That praises female empowerment while leaving men isolated, directionless, and ashamed of wanting to lead. That ends now, because very soon I'm dropping the most important thing I've ever created for men, the Stoic relationship blueprint. This is not a self-help book filled with fluff and cliches. This is your weapon. A step-by-step guide for becoming unshakable, not just in dating, but in life. This blueprint is for the man who's tired of the guessing, the confusion, the anxiety. For the man who's ready to stop reacting and start leading. For the man who knows he's capable of more, but hasn't had the map until now. It's dropping very soon, and when it does, every page will feel like it was written directly to the deepest part of you. It will speak to the you who's been betrayed, to the you who's been overlooked, to the you who stayed when you should have left and gave when you should have guarded. It's your reset button, your foundation, your new standard. So if you're serious about never being manipulated again, if you're done with begging for respect, if you're ready to become the kind of man who sets the tone in every room and every relationship, then do two things right now. Like this video, share it with a man who needs to hear this, and subscribe so you don't miss the launch. Drop a comment below, Blueprint, if you're ready to transform your life and relationships for good, and can't wait to get this life-changing ebook.